What's going on, everyone? So the Minnesota Timberwolves are absolutely manhandling the Denver Nuggets, and this has just been a dominant display, dominant performance from the Timberwolves defensively. I mean, that third quarter yesterday might have been the best defensive display we have ever seen. I mean, genuinely, they were just talking about the defending champions, one of the best offensive teams, one of the best half-court offensive teams in the league, and they just shut them down. And Anthony Edwards is emerging into, one of the top, if not by the time this runs over, might end up being the best player in the league. And he's young enough to be drafted in this upcoming draft. I mean, Minnesota is just, they look tough. And if they get through this Denver series, which I think at this point they're going to, I don't see them losing both games in Minnesota, right? They win at least one of them. All of a sudden it's 3-1. I think Minnesota wins this series. Now you go into the matchup against the Thunder or the Dallas Mavericks. And I just think that just what we've seen from Minnesota, I think one, the Thunder would be a bad matchup just with Minnesota's size. And then Dallas, I just think they have enough tools, enough defensive pieces to constantly just throw at Luka and Kyrie over that series, try to slow them down. You're never going to stop them. I think if Minnesota gets through this round, I think they are the Western Conference representatives. I mean, just what we've seen on both sides of the basketball from Minnesota has just been spectacular. And Denver, they just look like a team that's just dead in the water right now. Now, it is still Denver, right? They are still a absolute threat, and there's somebody that can, if anybody could come back and win two straight in Minnesota, it would be Denver. But time will tell. One of the things that this shows me is a couple things, right? One, Denver's Super Bowl is the Lakers, right? You see Denver over here throwing temper tantrums. Jamal Murray is like throwing heat pads on the court and stuff, and just like Mike Malone's having an aneurysm. And yet when they play the Lakers, you just saw a different team. I mean, even last year, Jamal Murray playing the Lakers was a completely different Jamal Murray than any other series in that playoff run. And once again, you're seeing the same thing. Now, in Jamal's defense, to an extent, right? He is injured. He is dealing with stuff. But even last year was proof in the pudding. It's just Denver was just so much better than everybody, and no one really had an answer. They just kind of coasted through the Western Conference, plus matchup, stuff like that. It was different, right? Minnesota, they're not afraid of Denver, right? They felt last year like, man, if we were just a couple tweaks better, we might have actually, that series may have went a little different, right? Like that, at least that's how they feel. Last year, I just think it was Denver's year. And you just see that, right? There's years where you just see like, okay, it's clearly this team's year. Everything, like even in that Lakers series against us last year, it's like Jokic is throwing up prayers and it's going in. Jamal Murray's throwing up prayers and it's going in. It's just like no matter what you do, it's just they're going to win it, right? It just kind of felt like that. And then this year, it's just, again, Denver was a completely different team. Michael Porter Jr.'s out here playing like he's prime Klay Thompson. Right? It's just, every time they play the Lakers, it's different, right? Because they've been little brother for so long. They've been beat up so many times. They were never able to get over that Lakers hump year in and year out. And it's like now they're finally here. And it's not even the players so much. Obviously the players have stepped up big against the Lakers, but it's more so Mike Malone. So it's kind of like that bitter justice. It's like, good, Minnesota, sweep them. Let Denver fans see how it feels. Let Denver fans cry and like all that stuff, right? Well, let's hear them make that talk. You know that they're still going to talk about the Lakers, but you can't really talk much if you end up getting swept too. Right? And it's just, another thing that it shows is just the Lakers had the blueprint for one, right? That 2020 team with the bigs and versatile wings, and you had some youth with some veterans kind of mixed in. It was this great balance of a roster. And you see Minnesota, and they're kind of the same thing, right? They're this team that's incredibly young. They're led by a superstar that's just incredibly young and gifted, but they also have Mike Conley, who's the kind of the calm and the balance and the glue guy for them, right? And you just see that they have the versatile bigs, right? They have the three big rotation. Now, obviously, you look at like Naz Reid, who he's been a huge factor in this series for Minnesota. Even in game one, it was like, do you even take him out for Karl Anthony Towns, right? Like, seriously, it's like, what do you do, right? And ultimately they did, but Naz Reid has been huge for them. And, the Lakers need to kind of get back to their roots, right? You have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. you have your two stars. If the Lakers can land a superstar, they're going to do it, right? Like if the Lakers can land Donovan Mitchell or they can land Trae Young, they're probably going to do it. Again, it's the Lakers. They're thinking more, not just right now, but also post LeBron James to kind of have those two stars to build around, right? So that's probably going to happen. But is that a necessity? I don't necessarily think so, right? I mean, obviously it depends on what else is out there, right? If your options are Trae Young or a bunch of like random, like maybe this guy will be a quality role guy, right? Then you probably go with Trae Young and you hope that it works out. But if there are some quality pieces available in this offseason, and obviously I'm not talking about just free agency because the Lakers are very limited in free agency. A lot of people, and I see a lot of comments from people of like, look, the Lakers need to, Minnesota, there's the blueprint. Go build Minnesota. That's easier said than done. Every team in the league is trying to build what Minnesota has. A bunch of versatile 3-and-D wings that can switch. You can basically switch 1 through 5, apply pressure. You got guys off the bench that come in and are just as good defensively as anyone else, right? The Lakers have some pieces, but more than anything, like they got to get that athleticism. They got to get some youth injected. I mean, the oldest guy in the playoffs right now is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is the oldest guy in the playoffs right now. Like that is bizarre, right? Like to think that he's like the old man. He's not even that old, right? It's crazy to think that Kyrie is one of the oldest guys, and we don't think of him or perceive him as this like ancient one, right? Like it's bizarre to see things like that, and yet you're seeing all these other teams, and it's just this influx of youth and talent, and the Lakers need to at least get that. They're not going to be able to build exactly what Minnesota has, right? Because one, all the quality 3-and-D wings, guess what? The price just went up drastically. And every team in the league is trying to vie for them. And there's just so many teams that have more than the Lakers do. But can they get a guy or two guys, right? Like you have Jared Vanderbilt. If he can continue to improve, he was looking, when he was playing, was looking very, like, okay, he's versatile. The Lakers are actually making him a bit of an offensive weapon, right? Nothing crazy, but hey, he's not a liability out there. If he can continue to improve and better his shot, now you have one of the premier 3-and-D guys at that point. And then, if you go get just one other guy, even something like, go get a DeJounte Murray, and can you get Alex Caruso, right? Like now you have, especially if DeJounte Murray can kind of get back to being that point of attack, all defensive guy. Well, now you have athleticism and speed and defense with him, getting Alex Caruso and his versatility on the defense side of things. And then if Jared Vanderbilt can, again, kind of develop some level of a three-point shot, again, doesn't even have to be elite, just league average, right? So now he's at least a threat, and teams have to worry about him. So now you have that switchability in the backcourt and out on the perimeter. You got LeBron and Anthony Davis down low. You're probably the best defensive team in the league because of Anthony Davis and those three defensive guys. Like Lakers can build a version of that, and I'd like to see them really kind of weigh and value. But another kind of pressing point is, can LeBron James and Anthony Davis get you over the hump still? Right? That 2020 team, LeBron James was 5 years younger, 4 years younger. Anthony Davis, same thing, right? And you saw LeBron over the course of the season, and even in that Denver series, was just gassed at times and was exhausted, right? Now, ideally, if you have complementary pieces and the defense and all that stuff, you can LeBron can kind of pick and choose and coast and stuff. But especially if you get a guy like a DeJounte Murray, you kind of have him like, hey, handle the, operate the offense, go get you your 20, right? And then LeBron kind of picks and chooses and kind of conserves himself for the moments in which you need him to, right? And the moments in which he can kind of take over and, be that LeBron James. But, Jeannie and Rob, I mean, they have a lot to consider. They have a lot that they need to figure out. They have a lot that they need to break down. And I think that the Lakers are in good position this offseason because they have, they have 3 firsts, pick swaps. They got, 5 seconds, and they got a couple players that teams may value and you could potentially offload in order to get a quality trade or trades. And now you kind of retool, revamp this roster in a way that now you're competing with the best of them, right? And it's just, again, you got to figure out the coach. It's a big factor, right? You need a quality coach that can kind of put all this together. You look at a guy like Chris Finch and what he's done, and and even Mike Malone, as much of a headache as he can be at times, he still is a good coach, right? And once you get that resolved, then you start rounding out the roster, start putting the pieces around LeBron and Anthony Davis, and trust them. I know a lot of people want LeBron to take a discount. It's probably not really going to matter, right? Lakers are over the cap regardless. LeBron could play for the vet minimum, and the Lakers would still have cap issues, right? They're not going to be able to sign a bunch of marquee guys this offseason. But, you work with what you got. You have some real assets that could potentially lead to some quality pieces. And, you go and contend for a championship this year. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What do you think the Lakers should do this offseason? Do you think, just forget the star, go get some youth, athleticism, guys out on the perimeter? Again, how I feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.